The ovaries are talking, and trust us, you'll want to hear what they have to say. Science, tech, hormones, and a whole lot of honesty. This is Talking Ovaries. Hi, welcome to Talking Ovaries. This month, Tanya and I wanted to do something slightly different, especially as it's the summer. We discovered that at least for the first hour of whenever we meet, we talk about a lot of things and we wished we'd have filmed it. It can be what's caught our attention this week or something that we're struggling with. So we actually thought we would do 5 things with some recommendations in there and some thoughts and some struggles that you might relate to too. So we'll pepper this into our usual long form content. We always love our science and our technology, but we just thought we would try something different to move us through the summer. The first of our 5 things is what we've read this week or this month that's been impactful for us. Tanya, do you want to take that away? Because I have way too much to say about that because I read too much.
Yeah, it's for me, unfortunately, and I do read, but most of the time my reading is technical reading. I'm reading white papers about biosensors and things like that. So it's a bit of a snooze fest for most people. But this week I've actually not read anything because I've come off a period of being really, really busy. We submitted a very big grant application to the German government, actually. We had a big conglomerate of 3 universities working together. I thought it was fantastic, and I'm quite proud of what we managed to put together. But unfortunately, after weeks and weeks of work, we didn't get selected for the grant. And that's always a bummer. And so I'm having a bit of a reset week, and I'm like, I'm not reading anything. My brain is just shut off, and I'm not reading anything. So perhaps this is where it's best that you share what you've read this week.
Well, I think it's fabulous that you even put the grant application together. I am a big reader. I read every day. But one of my favorite genres is historical crime fiction. But one of my all-time favorites, and I've reread the series and I'm rereading it again right now, is the Ruth Galloway series by Ellie Griffiths. The character Ruth Galloway is a forensic archaeologist. It navigates her life as she gets involved in certain crimes. God, or
Does
is it
she commit the crimes or does she solve the crimes?
No, she helps solve them.
Okay.
Her speciality are bones. So she looks at the age of bones. So I've learned a lot about carbon dating. But the odd or god moment is that this is all set in Norfolk in the UK. I have several paintings that I inherited many, many years ago from my aunt that are actually of that Norfolk area. And then, believe it or not, my daughter Jade actually now lives in Norfolk. So when I went to see her in January, there was a whole section of Ellie Griffiths books in the Waterstones in Norwich. It's one of my favourite series. I love the development of the character. But I think as a female lead in the book, it shows what it's like to try and move through a very male-dominated environment. She experiences life as a single parent and trying to balance her job. And she moves it to the University of Cambridge for a while. And it's a great read. So I love it. So I read a lot, and if anyone's interested, I can share my book list for 2026 with you. I can highly recommend the UK Waterstones book list. That's where I get a lot of mine from.
One of these days, hopefully I'll get more time and then I can start reading some of these books.
Okay, so next question we had was what's on our watch or listen list?
I think you have a pretty good idea what I'm up to this summer, or right this week. We are in the middle of the World Cup. As we filmed this episode, we already had the Egypt-Argentina game drama. And today is the game that will decide if we can go into the semifinals. So we will see how that goes. But the really cool thing about it, having grown up in Argentina, which is why I cheer for Argentina, football is a very male thing. Yeah. The women, at least while I was growing up, we didn't play football, only the boys played football. And it was mostly the men who watched the games and cheered. It was very male dominated. And it has continued to be so, as far as I've done with my friends when I go home, are really into it.
Uh-huh.
But this time around, so I have a chat group with all the women that I went to university with. We call ourselves the school ladies because that's the nickname of the University of Toronto Engineering School, SKULE. So we have our school chat, and we've had this chat for years and years and years. And all of a sudden, with football, the chat has blown up, and I didn't realize that most of us are huge football fans, and we have been sitting texting each other while we're watching the games. And we have one of my friends is in Australia, one of our and the rest of them are in the GTA, but we live in different areas. So we're just sitting there watching the games, going, "Oh my God! Oh, did you see that? Oh, goal!" So it's been really fun, and it's been the women, which I find really interesting. Today should be fun because my friend in Australia, she lived for a long time in Switzerland. So today for the first time, we got to butt heads. And she's not a fan of the Argentine style of play. She feels is a little bit too aggressive.
Mhm.
So we are going to see how that goes. But that's what I've been into and what I've been really doing this week, and just enjoying and taking all that in, because I do believe sports events like this really do bring people together more than pull them apart. And
Mhm.
I've really, really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to it, even if we don't make it through to the semifinals, which would be devastating, by the way, because we almost didn't make it into the quarterfinals, never mind.
Mhm. I wonder what we're all going to do after the World Cup. One of the things I mentioned to Tanya this week is also the real rise in female football.
Mhm.
And they all have names. In Australia, they're the Matildas. In the UK, they are the Lionesses. I think it's really great that women and girls are being given the opportunity to play football as well. It's never as well supported as the male game.
The women don't do all this diving and oh my God. Yes.
I am a big podcast listener. When I walk, which I try to do every day, I listen to a podcast. My all-time favorite is Australia's number one podcast, which is completely female owned and run, which is Mamma Mia Out Loud. They cover a wide range of what women are talking about that day or this week. They cover things from Taylor Swift's wedding to domestic violence levels in Australia to the resurgence of rosé wine, which they now call bitch diesel. I think I can say
Oh,
that.
that's funny. You can say that. See, we call that chicky wine, like chicks, chicky
Yes.
wine. And I told that to my cousins in Argentina. So now when I go to Argentina, I'm always welcomed with some chicky wine.
That's right. And also Mamma Mia Out Loud was the one who brought the news a couple of months ago that we finally had mapped the anatomy of the clitoris. The
Oh,
fact that we
finally.
had mapped the anatomy of the male bits and pieces probably about 25 years ago, and it took them a long time to get this far, but apparently they have mapped it now. So these podcasts make me laugh, and but they also inform me of a lot of things.
Yeah.
The second one, if I'm allowed to squeeze two in, is a podcast by Carrie Green, and she runs the Female Entrepreneur Association. And you know, if I'm feeling a little down and I need a bit of inspiration and a bit of encouragement, I listen to Carrie Green's podcast. They tend to be only about 15-20 minutes long. She covers a lot about being a female entrepreneur, and she does some really honest information and some sharing about her own life and her own struggles and how, you know, you got to keep going. She's a really big proponent of AI as well. And of course, I always do squeak in my true crime podcasts as well.
Well, I do listen to Diary of a CEO, and next week I will report because I have it tagged on my phone. There was an episode about how supposedly you can reverse gray hair. So I want to listen to that podcast and say,
No.
is it even feasible? Can I actually stop dyeing my hair? I'm so tired of it. Can I reverse this? So I'm going to listen to it and report back whether we should try something or do some experiment. But yeah. And the podcast I do not like, I will say, is the Mel Robbins podcast. There's just too much crying. I've never seen so many people cry so much. Come
I know.
on.
Okay, so the next question we had was what caught our attention this week? And I know that Tanya, we know what caught your attention this
What else
week.
is there? There's nothing else to talk about this week. Come on.
There is actually, but there was a clinical trial or clinical, it wasn't a trial, it was more of a
A
review.
review, maybe? Okay.
Yeah, of 1.9 million women. And they were looking at the use of vaginal estrogen and its impact, short term and long term. And one of the things that they were able to show that it did reduce the incidence of urinary tract infections and therefore hospital admissions and therefore mortality or deaths. They were also able to show that it had benefits to younger women. It wasn't just women in midlife. Vaginal estrogen is safe for virtually anyone to use. It doesn't just help with urinary tract infections, but it helps with a whole myriad of symptoms called the genitourinary symptoms of menopause. When I was in perimenopause, I used to call my friend in the UK and say, every time I walk, I wet myself. And I couldn't understand why. I just didn't get it. I just didn't link it to what was going on for me in my late 40s. And I love walking, and it really put me off because I thought every single time I'm going to go out and I'm going to pee myself.
Yeah.
And I now use vaginal estrogen. I have done for several years. The review very, very clearly and definitively showed the benefits of vaginal estrogen. And so much so, just to let you know, that in certain countries, vaginal estrogen is available over the counter. It
Yeah.
is not in Canada,
Yeah.
but it is in other countries.
Yeah. And there doesn't seem to be a recognition yet that it should be the first thing that you try when you see recurring UTIs, for example.
Mhm.
I use it as well. I use vaginal estrogen. Luckily, I've never had any issues,
Mhm.
but
No,
it's preventative. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't affect. It doesn't go into your bloodstream. So why not? That is the question. Why not?
I almost think this should be free. I think it should be free to women to use.
The healthcare system would save so much money.
Yeah, and I think for women as well, it often stops them from doing a lot of things. Like for myself, I didn't really want to walk, and so I think vaginal estrogen is a no-brainer. That's what caught my attention this week. I thought it was very big news. It's all over social media. If you want more information about that, then let us know. We thought about what's actually working for us, or maybe even not working for us.
Yeah. I'm trying to get back into my workout routine. I find that everything is cyclical in life. I know we're told that you can have it all and all this, and to me, that's just crap. Yeah, you can
Mhm.
have it all over time, but not at any particular time. The last few months have been really busy with work, so my exercise regime had suffered. And
Mm.
I also didn't have a goal. I find that I need to have something that I'm working towards. So I usually have a race or something that I'm working towards. So my girlfriends and I, now we have a goal. So we will be running the Army Run half marathon in Ottawa and I think it's September 19th or something like that. So I am starting to train for that, which means more running. I have to do weights. And right after that, so we're going to Ottawa, we're going to run the race, and then we're going to do a 1 week bike tour around the Ottawa, Montreal area. So that's what's working for me.
Wonderful. My own thing that's actually been working for me too reflects a little bit, but not quite as ambitious as you, is that for the longest time I've said I walk. I walk a lot. I
Yeah.
mostly walk for my mental health. But living in Calgary, it can be a little bit difficult in the winter time. But the one thing I've switched up is I really beat myself up if I don't reach those 10,000 steps. Some days I do 6,000, some days I do 12. And I berate myself if I haven't managed to achieve that and I'm not doing what I should do. So I've scrapped that completely. I'm not doing 10,000 steps anymore. I walk for time, and in general, it's the time of a podcast. So I look for podcasts that are around 40 to 60 minutes long, and I just walk a route. I'm very fortunate. I live around a really lovely pond that I can walk around. But if I can do that, regardless of my speed, but I've stopped counting steps.
Yeah.
I
Very
just
wise. Very
yeah,
wise.
Yeah, and I think there isn't a ton of evidence to suggest that 10,000 steps is the optimum. I mean, why isn't it nine? Why isn't it 11?
It was just something somebody made up for some other reason. It had nothing to do with your health. It was just a nice round number. So
Yeah. Yeah, I
you,
think it was
you do
actually
you.
I don't want to get sued, but I think it was actually a sportswear company. I think it was a company that makes sportswear that
I got
was
my
trying
Garmin. Yesterday I got my 10,000 steps. Today I can guarantee you I won't because
no.
I'm going to be watching the games.
Uh, your heart rate might go up a little bit.
Oh my, it has been funny because it does. It does
Yeah.
warn me and tell me that my heart rate's going up. And I'm like, of course it is.
But I know for me, I don't want to berate myself around exercise and movement. Just try and
But if you
try
have
and do.
osteoporosis, you need to do a little bit of jumping. That's the other thing I'm doing. I've added jumping into my workout routine for that reason, for
Yeah, yeah, dance.
osteoporosis.
Dance. Put some
Oh
music
yeah.
on in your kitchen and dance. Just move.
Yeah.
And I know for me, it just really, really helps me mentally to deal with a lot of the stress that I
Yeah.
feel. So, what's been frustrating us?
Well,
What's the frustration?
speaking of stress, honestly, our healthcare system, every time I have to deal with it, I just pull my hair out. So my daughter needed an MRI. It was a checkup MRI. So she has MRIs about twice a year because she has hydrocephalus. So she has a shunt, which is a valve that drains fluid from her brain. The shunt is programmable and it's programmable through magnetics. An MRI will reset it. The way it works is that she'll have an MRI. When she's done, you have to call the neurosurgeon on call. And they have this, what I call a voodoo thing. It looks like, those Ouija board things. That's what it looks like. They put it on her head. It'll turn to see what the setting actually is. And then they have another thing that they put to set it to the right thing. But it takes 15 minutes. Why a neurosurgeon needs to do that, I don't know, because I think you could train a technician to do it. But whatever. So that was always what we had to do at Sick Kids. But now she's an adult, so we've transitioned to another hospital. And this is what they told me verbatim. They wanted her to have an extra x-ray in her head to check if it was necessary to call the intern to come and reset it. And she said they didn't want to waste the neurosurgeon's time. It's more worth for her to get an extra x-ray than to call somebody for 15 minutes. I was livid. And I've experienced this so many times in the healthcare system where they're prioritizing the clinician's time over patients. So I'm very sensitive about this because it's just been going on and on. But that's what's really frustrating me, that these are simple things that could improve how a patient feels, could save a ton of money. Why would you do an extra x-ray? That's a waste of resources when you don't need it. Why do you
Mhm.
have a neurosurgeon resetting a shunt when you could have a nurse practitioner? You could have somebody, you could even train the MRI staff to do this. It's not brain surgery, like no offense. Like they're not going into her brain to do anything. It's just reading a setting.
Mhm.
But that is my rant for today. How about you? What has been frustrating you today?
I think most people wouldn't recognize that sometimes I can be one of those glass half empty people. I get really frustrated with myself because I find that I lack gratitude. And I have to say, I hate writing gratitude lists. I've tried it. I seem to write the same thing like, I'm really grateful for my morning tea, and I'm really grateful that I only have to drive 7 minutes to work. I've started to look at the things that I'm struggling to feel grateful for. I then put that down on a piece of paper and then I try and write the opposite of it. So if it's finance, for example, and I'm concerned about my finances, I think to myself, you know what, Judith, you don't have a lot of money left over this month, but you've paid all your bills. So you're doing the best you can with what you have and just trying to get some perspective on it, because I find that when my glass is half empty, it's usually because I'm lacking perspective, because I'm often living in the future. But I get very frustrated with myself about it. This doesn't happen all the time. I'm not like this every day. Seems to be a really cyclical part of my life. I did actually look this up. to see whether or not menopausal women who are no longer having monthly cycles, monthly periods, still have an element of cyclical feelings or cyclical symptoms in their lives. And in fact, there isn't very much, if any, data really to support that. I learned a lot about the pituitary ovarian feedback loop. We have circadian rhythms. We have cortisol cycles, we have adrenal cycles. So all of these things can still be cyclical. And it did suggest that you track those symptoms for about 3 months to see whether or not you did have anything that was cyclical. So for anyone who's listening, you need to download Bastet Rising.
Yes, you do.
And track it to see whether or not you are indeed having these cyclical symptoms. And for me, it tends to be a lot more mentally driven, psychologically driven, that I have those symptoms. And I was very much like that during my reproductive years when I was having periods. But I know that also just actually talking to you about this earlier on this week helped me to process how it was that I was feeling, and therefore allowed me to feel a little bit more gratitude for what I have. So I think also talking about this can really, really help too. But that's what's been frustrating me, along with some healthcare issues too. And there's a lot of things that frustrate me in my life. But, I walk to get rid of those.
Yeah. Yeah. But at the same time, I think we have to be kinder to ourselves too. I mean, it's hard to be grateful or feel positive when you look at the news, everything happening in the world today. I mean, there is a lot of stress financially for people, high price of gas. I don't drive a lot, but when I do drive, there's one gas station that after 7 p.m., they drop their prices. I never used to figure out when was the right time to buy gas. There was a point in time when we didn't have to do that. Everybody's stressed financially. I think it's also normal, right, that you would go through this and feel glass half empty, because it's hard not to, given everything that's going on in the world, right? So I think we just have to do the best that we can, go for those walks or runs, and one day at a time. That's all we can do.
Yeah, and talk about it. And talk about it. So, I mean, if you're watching this and you're feeling this too, we would love to hear from you. What's frustrating you? Talking Ovaries should have a frustration board on our website.
A rage board.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm grateful, that we do this. Some of you may not know, but Tanya and I have never met in person.
Nope.
We've known each other for a little while now, and we've never met in person, but we speak pretty much at least once a week. And I think everyone should have a talking ovary or a Tanya in their life, because I really think it helps. And we often do talk about these 5 things. We do, when we catch up, we talk about what it is that's frustrating us, what's working for us. And so, if you've got a group of women that you actually meet up with, maybe you check out these 5 things and see what other women are coming up with. And it gives them an opportunity to share potentially some of the things they're feeling frustrated about, or some of the resources that they're using.
That's a challenge. Go out and find your other ovary and start talking.
Maybe we should have a t-shirt that we create that says, "Are you my other ovary?"
Are you my other ovary? Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's it for this month's episode of Talking Ovaries. If you want to see my book list or our podcast list, then let you know. But go England, go.
Go England and go Argentina.
Okay, bye-bye for now. Bye. Talking Ovaries is here for information and empowerment, but not medical advice. We recommend discussing all aspects of your health with your healthcare provider. If you'd like to be part of Talking Ovaries, hit the like and subscribe button along with the notification bell. Or you can show us some love by writing us a review and sharing this episode with the people in your life. Talking Ovaries is written, created and produced by Tanya, Lindsay and Judith Pringle. You can stay up to date with the Talking Ovaries by signing up for our newsletter and following us on Instagram, Facebook and LinkedIn. We read every review and email. This material is protected by copyright.